The discovery. Dr. Samantha Chen squinted at the rows of data scrolling across her monitor, her coffee going cold beside her keyboard. It was 3 a.m. at the SETI Institute, and she was about to make history. "This can't be right," she muttered, rubbing her eyes. But no matter how many times she checked and rechecked the numbers, the conclusion remained the same. An enormous object, no, a fleet of objects, was rapidly approaching the solar system. Samantha's fingers flew across the keyboard, correlating data from observatories around the world. Radio telescopes, optical arrays, and even amateur stargazers had all captured pieces of the puzzle. Now, as she pulled them together, an undeniable picture emerged. "Holy shit," she breathed, reaching for her phone with trembling hands. "We're not alone." Within hours, the news had spread like wildfire. Emergency meetings were called in capitals around the globe. Military commanders pored over tactical simulations. Religious leaders sought meaning in ancient texts. And everywhere, from bustling cities to remote villages, humanity looked to the stars with a mixture of wonder and fear. At the United Nations, an emergency session convened. Dr. Chen found herself thrust into the spotlight, briefing world leaders on humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Based on their speed and trajectory, she explained, her voice steady despite the gravity of her words, the alien fleet will reach Earth orbit in approximately 3 months. We've detected no attempts at communication, but their technology is clearly far beyond our own. The room erupted in a cacophony of voices. Questions, demands, and accusations flew from all directions. It was the Secretary General who finally restored order, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Dr. Chen," she said, "what are our options?" Samantha took a deep breath. "We have 3 months to prepare. We can attempt to communicate, to understand their intentions. We can prepare our defenses in case those intentions are hostile. Or we can do both." In the days that followed, humanity's best and brightest were mobilized. A global task force was assembled, combining the expertise of scientists, military strategists, linguists, and diplomats. Their mission: to safeguard Earth and its people in the face of an unprecedented threat. Dr. Aaron Takeshi, a brilliant physicist, led the team working on upgrading Earth's defensive capabilities. In a secret facility deep beneath the New Mexico desert, he and his colleagues labored around the clock to reverse engineer recovered alien technology. "We've made a breakthrough," Aaron announced, his eyes gleaming with excitement. He held up a small silvery device. "This quantum entanglement communicator will give us instantaneous, unhackable communication across any distance. It's a game changer for coordinating our global defense network." Meanwhile, in a heavily guarded compound outside Geneva, linguist Dr. Fatima Al-Rashid worked tirelessly to decipher the alien language. Her team had intercepted faint transmissions from the approaching fleet, and every scrap of data was precious. "It's like nothing we've ever encountered," Fatima explained, gesturing to the complex symbols floating on her holographic display. "Their language seems to operate on multiple dimensions simultaneously, but we're making progress. I think we might be able to say hello." As the deadline approached, tensions on Earth reached a fever pitch. Some nations advocated for a preemptive strike, arguing that humanity couldn't afford to wait and see if the aliens came in peace. Others pushed for patience and diplomacy, fearing that aggression could doom the entire planet. In orbit, hastily assembled defense platforms bristled with experimental weapons. On the ground, military units stood at high alert, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. And in homes around the world, families huddled together, watching the skies and praying for salvation. Exactly 90 days after Samantha's discovery, the alien fleet arrived. The massive ships appeared suddenly, blinking into existence just beyond the moon's orbit. Their sleek obsidian hulls seemed to devour light, making them visible only as voids against the star-filled backdrop of space. In the White House Situation Room, the President of the United States stared at the live feed from orbital cameras. Her face was ashen, but her voice remained steady as she turned to her advisors. "Send the message," she ordered. Across the globe, in similar command centers, other world leaders gave the same command. The carefully crafted greeting, a product of countless hours of linguistic and cultural analysis, was transmitted on all frequencies. For several agonizing minutes, there was no response. The alien ships hung motionless in space, inscrutable and terrifying in their silence. Then, without warning, they began to move. Smaller craft detached from the larger vessels, descending rapidly towards Earth. Defense systems locked on, fingers hovering over triggers. The entire planet held its breath, teetering on the knife's edge between peace and annihilation. And then, just as it seemed conflict was inevitable, a new signal cut through the airwaves. The alien transmission was crisp, clear, and in perfect English. "People of Earth," the voice said, its tone neither friendly nor hostile, but coolly neutral. "We have come to assess your worthiness. Prepare to be tested." In the SETI control room, Dr. Samantha Chen listened to the transmission with a mixture of awe and trepidation. She exchanged glances with her colleagues, each face mirroring her own complex emotions. "Well," she said, a wry smile tugging at her lips despite the gravity of the situation, "I guess first contact is just the beginning." As the alien ships continued their descent, humanity steeled itself for the greatest challenge in its history. The test had begun, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. But in labs and command centers, in homes and hearts around the world, a fierce determination took hold. Humanity had faced extinction before, from cosmic impacts, from plagues, from its own destructive nature. Each time, it had survived, adapted, and emerged stronger. This crisis would be no different. Whatever trials the aliens had in store, whatever cosmic exam they had prepared, humanity would face it head-on. With courage, with ingenuity, and with an unshakable will to survive, the people of Earth prepared to show the universe exactly what they were made of. The chapter of humanity's childhood was coming to a close. A new era was dawning, an era of challenge, of discovery, and of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. As the alien ships pierced the atmosphere, lighting up the skies around the world, Dr. Chen squared her shoulders and took a deep breath. "Let's show them what humans can do," she said. The greatest test in human history had begun, the confrontation. The alien ships hovered over major cities worldwide, their massive forms casting long shadows across the landscape. In the 3 days since their arrival, the visitors had made no hostile moves, but neither had they clarified the nature of their test. In New York City, Dr. Samantha Chen stood on the roof of the United Nations building, surrounded by a delegation of Earth's foremost scientists and political leaders. They watched as a sleek, shuttle-like craft descended from the larger ship above, touching down on the makeshift landing pad with barely a whisper. "Remember," General Maria Ruiz whispered, her hand resting on the holster at her hip, "we're here to talk. But be ready for anything." The shuttle's hull seemed to liquefy, a doorway forming out of the seamless metal. A tall, willowy figure emerged, its form vaguely humanoid but unmistakably alien. Its skin shimmered with an iridescent sheen, and its 4 eyes blinked in an unsettling rhythm. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," the alien said, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "I am Zalforan, emissary of the Galactic Concordat. We have come to evaluate your species' readiness for integration into the greater cosmic community." Dr. Chen stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "We welcome you, Zalforan. We are honored by your presence and eager to learn. Can you tell us more about this evaluation?" The alien's eyes flickered, a ripple passing across its skin. "The test is simple," it said. "We will present you with a series of challenges, technological, ethical, and martial. Your responses will determine whether you are welcomed as equals or managed for the greater good of the galaxy." A murmur ran through the human delegation. "Managed?" General Ruiz asked, her tone sharp. "What exactly does that mean?" Zalforan's gaze fixed on the general, its intensity making her take an involuntary step back. Species deemed unready for full autonomy are placed under the stewardship of more advanced civilizations, for their own protection and that of others. The implications hung heavy in the air. Colonization, subjugation, the loss of human self-determination. And if we refuse to participate in your tests? Dr. Aaron Takeshi asked, his fists clenched at his sides. The alien's response was chilling in its casualness. Non-compliance is viewed as a failure of the first test. The Concordat would then take whatever steps necessary to neutralize potential threats. As the gravity of the situation sank in, the human leaders exchanged grim looks. They were caught in an impossible position: submit to alien judgment or face annihilation. "We need time to discuss this among ourselves," the Secretary General said, her voice tight with barely contained anger. Zalforan inclined its head. "You have 24 of your Earth hours to prepare. The first test will commence at this time tomorrow. We advise you to use this time wisely." With that, the alien retreated to its shuttle, leaving the human delegation in stunned silence. The next 24 hours were a whirlwind of global activity. Emergency sessions were held in every government, strategies debated, and contingency plans put into motion. Dr. Chen and her team worked feverishly to analyze every scrap of data they had on the aliens, searching for any advantage. As the deadline approached, humanity steeled itself for the unknown challenges ahead. But even as they prepared to face the aliens' tests, a quiet resistance was forming. In a secure bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Ruiz met with a select group of military and scientific leaders. "We can't just roll over and let these cosmic bullies decide our fate," she said, her voice low but intense. "While we play along with their tests, we need to be looking for weaknesses, gathering intel, and preparing for the possibility that we might have to fight our way out of this." Dr. Takeshi nodded, pulling up a holographic display of the alien ships. "I've been analyzing their energy signatures. There are fluctuations that suggest their defenses might not be as impenetrable as they want us to believe." "And what about communication?" asked Dr. Fatima Al-Rashid, the linguist. "If we could crack their language, really understand it, we might find diplomatic solutions they haven't considered." As the resistance group formulated their plans, the first test began. Zalforan's voice echoed in the minds of every human on the planet simultaneously. "Your first challenge is one of resource management and environmental stewardship. You have 48 hours to reduce your global carbon emissions by 50% without causing economic collapse or civil unrest. Begin." The world erupted into frenzied activity. Power plants were shut down, transportation ground to a halt, and emergency measures were implemented on a scale never before seen. But as the hours ticked by, it became clear that the goal was impossible to achieve within the given time frame. At least, not by conventional means. That's when Dr. Chen had an epiphany. Racing to her lab, she pulled up the data from the quantum entanglement communicator they'd reverse engineered. "It's not just for communication," she muttered, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "With some modifications, we could use it to create a planet-wide energy grid, instantly transferring power from areas of excess to areas of need." As she worked, similar breakthroughs were happening around the globe. In India, a young engineer found a way to exponentially increase the efficiency of solar panels. In Brazil, a team of botanists developed a fast-growing alga that could absorb carbon at unprecedented rates. With just hours to spare, humanity presented its solution to the aliens. Not only had they met the 50% reduction target, but they'd also created a framework for a sustainable global energy system that could be implemented long-term. Zalforan's response was impossible to read. "Interesting," the alien said. "You have passed the first test, albeit through unexpected means. Prepare yourselves. The next challenge will not be so easily overcome." As the alien ships repositioned themselves around the planet, humanity allowed itself a moment of cautious celebration. They had faced their first cosmic trial and emerged victorious. But it was clear that this was only the beginning. In the secret bunker, General Ruiz and her team redoubled their efforts. "They're testing us, yes," she said, her eyes gleaming with determination. "But make no mistake, we're testing them too. And I have a feeling they're going to find out that humanity is full of surprises." As the world braced for the next challenge, a new sense of unity and purpose spread across the globe. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and it had no intention of exiting quietly. The alien tests continued, each more demanding than the last. But with every challenge, humanity's resolve grew stronger. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the right to forge their own destiny among the stars. And as Earth's finest minds worked tirelessly to overcome the aliens' trials, a growing suspicion began to take root. Perhaps these tests were more than they appeared. Perhaps, in pushing humanity to its limits, the Galactic Concordat was revealing as much about itself as it was learning about Earth. The greatest test in human history continued, with the fate of the planet hanging in the balance. But now, alongside the fear and uncertainty, a new emotion was taking hold. Hope. Hope that humanity would not just survive this ordeal, but emerge from it stronger, wiser, and ready to take its place among the cosmic civilizations. As the next challenge loomed, Dr. Chen looked up at the alien ships looming overhead and allowed herself a small, defiant smile. "Bring it on," she whispered. "We're just getting started." The counterattack. As the alien tests continued, pushing humanity to its limits, a pattern began to emerge. Each challenge seemed designed not just to evaluate Earth's capabilities, but to reshape human society according to the Galactic Concordat standards. It was a subtle form of colonization, masked as benevolent guidance. In the secret bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, now dubbed Resistance Prime, Dr. Samantha Chen paced before a holographic display of Earth and the alien fleet. "We're playing their game," she said, frustration evident in her voice. "And even when we win, we're changing ourselves to fit their mold. This isn't an evaluation, it's assimilation." General Maria Ruiz nodded grimly. "Agreed. It's time we change the rules. Dr. Takeshi, what have you got for us?" The physicist stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We've made a breakthrough in understanding their quantum shielding technology. There's a fluctuation in the field every 76.3 hours. It's brief, just a fraction of a second, but it's consistent. A weakness we can exploit." Dr. Fatima Al-Rashid asked, leaning forward. "Potentially," Takeshi replied. "But we'd need to coordinate a global attack with pinpoint timing. And we'd only get one shot at it." General Ruiz's expression hardened. "Then we make it count. Begin preparations immediately. And someone get me the Secretary General. It's time to bring the rest of the world leadership on board." As the resistance mobilized, the alien tests took a darker turn. The latest challenge was a thinly veiled demand for population control, framed as optimizing resource allocation for long-term species survival. Zalforan's voice echoed in every human mind. "You have 1 week to reduce your global population by 10% through humane means, or we will do it for you. This is necessary for your integration into the galactic community. Begin." The demand sent shockwaves of horror and outrage across the planet. Riots erupted in major cities. Religious leaders called for divine intervention. And in government chambers around the world, leaders faced an impossible choice. But humanity had no intention of complying. As the deadline approached, Dr. Chen and her team put the final touches on their plan. Using the reverse-engineered quantum entanglement communicators, they had created a global network that could coordinate their attack down to the microsecond. "Remember," Chen said, addressing the assembled leaders via secure holographic link, "this isn't just about survival. It's about asserting our right to self-determination. We're not just fighting against the aliens, we're fighting for our humanity." The Secretary General nodded solemnly. "The world stands united behind you, Dr. Chen. Whatever the outcome, let it be known that humanity faced this threat on our own terms." As the clock ticked down, tension mounted across the globe. Military units moved into position, disguised as part of the population control measures the aliens were expecting. Civilian hackers, coordinated by Dr. Al-Rashid, prepared to launch a massive cyber attack on the alien communication systems. And orbiting the planet, a hastily assembled fleet of weaponized satellites waited for the signal. At precisely 76.2 hours into the aliens' ultimatum, humanity struck. The attack came from all directions simultaneously. As the quantum shields flickered for that fraction of a second, Earth's satellites fired, their beams converging on key points of the alien ships. On the ground, EMP devices activated, targeting the smaller alien craft. And in cyberspace, human hackers launched an assault on the alien networks, armed with insights gleaned from weeks of careful study. For a moment, it seemed as if the world held its breath. Then, chaos erupted. Alien ships tumbled from the sky, their systems overloaded. The massive vessel above New York listed to one side, its hull breached in multiple locations. And across the planet, the oppressive mental presence of Zal Thorin and the other alien leaders suddenly vanished. In Resistance Prime, the command center erupted in cheers. But Dr. Chen's voice cut through the celebration. It's not over yet. Look. On the main screen, they watched as the remaining alien ships regrouped with startling speed. A new voice, harsh and guttural, filled their minds. Humans, you dare to strike against the Galactic Concordat. Your pitiful species will be eradicated for this treachery. The alien ships opened fire, energy beams lancing down toward major cities. But they met an unexpected resistance, a shimmering barrier of energy that sprang into existence around each target. Dr. Takeshi grinned triumphantly, reverse engineered from their own tech. Let's see how they like a taste of their own medicine. The battle raged across the planet and in orbit. Human ingenuity clashed with alien technology in a spectacular display of firepower and strategy. For every alien advance, humanity had a countermove. Where the extraterrestrials had overwhelming force, humans responded with guerrilla tactics and unpredictable maneuvers. As the conflict intensified, something unexpected happened. Several alien ships suddenly turned on their comrades, their weapons targeting the Concordat's main fleet. What's happening? General Ruiz demanded, staring at the tactical display in confusion. Dr. Al-Rashid's eyes widened in realization. It's the cyber attack. We didn't just shut down their systems. We've given some of the alien crew access to information their leaders were hiding from them. I think we might have just sparked a rebellion within their own ranks. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. With their forces divided and their carefully laid plans in shambles, the Galactic Concordat found itself on the defensive for the first time in centuries. Hours later, as the dust settled and the last alien ship retreated from Earth's orbit, humanity allowed itself to breathe a collective sigh of relief. They had faced an overwhelming cosmic threat and emerged victorious. But their trials were far from over. As world leaders gathered to assess the aftermath, a new transmission came through. Not from the retreating Concordat ships, but from deep space. People of Earth, a melodious voice said, distinct from the harsh tones of Zal Thorin and his kind. We are the collective of free worlds. For too long, we have watched the Galactic Concordat subjugate species across the galaxy under the guise of evaluation and integration. Your resistance has given us hope. If you are willing, we would stand with you against the Concordat's tyranny. Dr. Chen exchanged glances with her team, a mix of exhaustion and excitement on their faces. Well, she said, a wry smile tugging at her lips, I guess we've just been thrust onto the galactic stage, whether we're ready or not. As humanity contemplated this new alliance and the challenges it would bring, one thing was clear. Earth would no longer be a passive player in cosmic affairs. They had proven their worth not through submission to alien standards, but by staying true to the very human qualities of innovation, determination, and the unquenchable desire for freedom. The Galactic Concordat had come to test humanity. Instead, humanity had tested itself and passed with flying colors. As the sun rose on a new era for Earth, Dr. Chen looked up at the stars, no longer distant and unreachable, but a frontier waiting to be explored. "Look out, universe," she whispered. "Here we come." The Alliance. The days following humanity's victory over the Galactic Concordat were a whirlwind of activity, as Earth's nations worked to rebuild and adapt alien technology for defensive purposes. Diplomatic channels buzzed with preparations for humanity's first official extraterrestrial alliance. In a repurposed hangar at the former Area 51, now serving as Earth's primary xenodiplomatic center, Dr. Samantha Chen stood before a shimmering holographic display. The image showed a vast star map, with pulsing lights indicating the known territories of the Galactic Concordat and the collective of free worlds. "It's staggering," she murmured, her eyes wide with wonder. "We thought we were alone in the universe, and now we're about to become players in a galactic conflict." General Maria Ruiz nodded, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "A conflict we inadvertently escalated. The Concordat won't take our rebellion lightly. We need this alliance to work, or Earth could find itself facing the full might of a galactic empire." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. "Incoming wormhole signature detected." A technician called out. "Matches the frequency provided by the collective." Hearts racing, the assembled human leaders watched as a sleek, crystalline ship emerged from a swirling vortex of energy just beyond Earth's orbit. Unlike the oppressive bulk of the Concordat vessels, this craft seemed to dance among the stars, its form both beautiful and alien. A voice, melodious and multifaceted, resonated through the command center. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the emissaries of the collective of free worlds. We come in peace and solidarity." Hours later, in a specially prepared conference room, human leaders sat across from their new alien allies. The collective's representatives were a diverse group, each species wildly different from the next. There was Zinra, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid exosuit. Kralthor, a massive, rock-like entity whose thoughts rumbled like distant thunder. And Elia, a delicate insectoid creature with iridescent wings and compound eyes that seemed to see in all directions at once. As introductions were made and formalities observed, Dr. Chen couldn't help but marvel at the strange twists of fate that had brought them to this moment. Just weeks ago, humanity had been alone in the cosmos. Now they were forging alliances with beings from across the galaxy. Elia, appointed as the primary spokesperson for the collective, began the negotiations. "We have watched your species with great interest," she said, her voice a symphony of chirps and trills translated by advanced technology. "Your resistance against the Concordat was impressive, showcasing resourcefulness and determination we have rarely seen. However," Kralthor rumbled, "it has also painted a target on your world. The Concordat does not forgive rebellion. They will return, with force greater than you can imagine." General Ruiz leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Then why come to us? If we're such a liability, wouldn't it be safer for you to stay away?" Zinra's form flickered, energy patterns shifting in what might have been amusement. "Because, General, you have done what no other species has managed in millennia. You've given the Concordat pause. You've shown that their power is not absolute. In doing so, you've reignited hope across the galaxy." As the negotiations progressed, it became clear that this alliance was about more than just military cooperation. The collective offered to share technology, scientific knowledge, and cultural insights that could propel humanity centuries ahead in development. In return, they asked for Earth's unique perspective, its art, its music, and most importantly, its indomitable spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. But the alliance also came with grave responsibilities. Earth would need to rapidly adapt to its new role as a key strategic point in a galactic conflict. The planet's defenses would need to be overhauled, its industries retooled for spacefaring capabilities, and its population prepared for the reality of cosmic warfare. As the human leaders debated the terms of the alliance, Dr. Chen found herself in a passionate discussion with Elia about the nature of sentience and the ethical implications of galactic governance. The Concordat believes in a hierarchy of species, Elia explained, her antennae twitching with emotion. They see themselves as shepherds, guiding lesser races towards a predetermined idea of civilization. But in doing so, they stifle innovation, crush uniqueness, and perpetuate a stagnant galaxy. Chen nodded, understanding dawning. So when we resisted their tests, you demonstrated that progress doesn't have to follow their narrow path. Elia finished. Your solutions, while sometimes crude by galactic standards, were innovative and uniquely human. That's what the galaxy needs: diversity of thought and approach. As the negotiations neared their conclusion, a sense of cautious optimism filled the room. The alliance between Earth and the collective of free worlds was taking shape, a beacon of hope in a galaxy shadowed by the Concordat's oppressive regime. But their fragile peace was shattered by a sudden alarm. Dr. Takeshi burst into the room, his face pale. "We've detected a massive wormhole opening at the edge of the solar system," he reported breathlessly. "It's the Concordat. They're back, and in numbers we've never seen before." The room erupted into controlled chaos as humans and aliens alike sprang into action. Battle plans were hastily drawn up, leveraging the combined knowledge and technology of Earth and the collective. As ships took to the skies and defense systems powered up across the globe, Dr. Chen found herself standing beside Elia, watching the holographic display of the approaching Concordat fleet. "I'm sorry we brought this to your doorstep," Elia said softly. Chen shook her head, a determined smile on her face. "Don't be. For the first time in our history, humanity is united with a purpose greater than ourselves. We're not just fighting for our own survival now. We're fighting for the freedom of every sentient being in the galaxy." Elia's compound eyes seemed to shimmer with an emotion Chen couldn't quite identify. "Then let us hope that the spirit that defeated the Concordat once can do so again. For all our sakes." As the first wave of Concordat ships entered the solar system, humanity stood ready. They were no longer alone in the cosmos, no longer helpless in the face of advanced alien civilizations. With their new allies at their side and the combined knowledge of 100 worlds at their fingertips, they prepared to make their stand. The battle for Earth, and for the future of the galaxy, was about to begin. The resolution. The skies above Earth blazed with the fury of cosmic warfare. The Galactic Concordat's massive fleet filled the horizon, their ships blotting out the stars. Against this overwhelming force stood the combined might of humanity and the collective of free worlds, a ragtag armada of determination and hope. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, now expanded with alien technology, Dr. Samantha Chen watched the battle unfold on holographic displays. Beside her, General Maria Ruiz barked orders, coordinating Earth's defenses with the precision of a master strategist. Concordat forces breaching the outer defense grid, a technician called out. Ruiz's eyes narrowed. Deploy the Sunburst Protocol. Across the solar system, hidden installations on asteroids and moons suddenly activated. Beams of concentrated solar energy lanced out, catching the Concordat ships in a deadly crossfire. Several alien vessels erupted in silent explosions, their debris scattering across space. But the Concordat's numbers seemed endless. For every ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. "We can't keep this up forever," Dr. Aaron Takeshi said, his voice tense. "We need a game changer." As if in answer to his words, a new alert sounded. Dr. Fatima Al-Rashid's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. "We're picking up transmissions from within the Concordat fleet. It's a resistance movement." On the main screen, they watched in astonishment as several Concordat ships suddenly turned on their allies, firing on their own command vessels. Elia, the collective's insectoid representative, chittered excitedly. "It's working. The information we spread about the Concordat's true nature is sparking rebellion within their ranks." But their elation was short-lived. A massive energy signature suddenly appeared at the heart of the Concordat fleet. A ship unlike any they had seen before emerged from a swirling vortex, a leviathan of impossible proportions, its surface crawling with what looked like living metal. Zalforan's voice, now tinged with rage and desperation, boomed across all frequencies. "Foolish creatures, you dare to challenge the natural order of the galaxy. Behold the true might of the Concordat. This world will be cleansed, and order will be restored." The giant ship's weapons powered up, a ball of energy forming at its prow that threatened to dwarf even the sun. In that moment of crisis, as hope seemed to falter, Dr. Chen had an epiphany. "The quantum entanglement network," she shouted. "If we can link every ship, every weapon, every mind in our alliance." Understanding dawned on the faces around her. It was audacious, perhaps impossible, but it was their only chance. What followed was a frenzy of activity. Dr. Takeshi and his team worked to expand the quantum network to encompass not just Earth's forces, but those of the Collective and even the Concordat rebels. Dr. Al-Rashid fine-tuned the communication protocols, ensuring seamless integration across species and technologies. As Zalforan's doomsday weapon neared completion, the Allied forces made their move. In perfect synchronization, every ship, every weapon, every individual mind linked through the quantum network focused their energy on a single point. The result was beyond anything they could have imagined. A beam of pure thought and energy lanced out, meeting the Concordat's weapon head-on. The two forces clashed in a spectacular display of light and power that outshone the sun itself. For a moment it seemed to stretch into eternity. The fate of Earth, of the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Then, with a silent explosion that rippled across space-time itself, the Concordat's superweapon collapsed in on itself. The massive ship at the heart of their fleet began to break apart, cracks of brilliant energy spreading across its hull. Zalforan's voice, now filled with disbelief and fear, echoed one last time. "Impossible. How could mere primitives?" And then, silence. The remaining Concordat ships, their command structure in chaos, began to retreat. Some surrendered to the Allied forces, while others fled into the depths of space. As the realization of victory slowly dawned, cheers erupted across the Allied fleet. On Earth, people emerged from shelters to see the sky filled with falling debris. A cosmic fireworks display marking the dawn of a new era. In the command center, Dr. Chen slumped in exhaustion, a tired smile on her face. "We did it," she whispered. "We actually did it." General Ruiz nodded, her usual stoic demeanor softened by a look of wonder. "Not just survived. We've changed the course of galactic history." In the days that followed, as the dust of battle settled and the work of rebuilding began, the full implications of their victory became clear. The Galactic Concordat, once thought invincible, had been shattered. In its place, a new alliance was forming, one built on mutual respect, shared knowledge, and the celebration of diversity. Earth, once an isolated blue marble in the cosmic ocean, now found itself at the heart of a galactic renaissance. The unique human traits that had allowed them to resist the Concordat, creativity, adaptability, and an indomitable spirit, were now valued across the stars. 1 month after the battle, in a ceremony broadcast across 1,000 worlds, the United Galactic Alliance was officially formed. Representatives from Earth stood proudly alongside beings from across the cosmos, each bringing their own unique perspectives and abilities to this new cosmic democracy. As Dr. Samantha Chen took the stage to address the assembled delegates, she couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. "We came to the galactic stage as newcomers," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the universe. "We faced tests and trials that pushed us to our limits, but in doing so, we discovered strengths we never knew we had. We learned that true strength lies not in conformity, but in diversity. Not in domination, but in cooperation." She paused, looking out at the sea of faces, human and alien alike, all united in this historic moment. The stars are no longer a distant dream, but a horizon to be explored, and we will explore them not as conquerors, but as curious children, eager to learn and grow. Together, we will build a galaxy where every voice is heard, every unique perspective valued, and where the spirit of discovery and innovation will light our way through the cosmic night. As applause thundered through the chamber and across the galaxy, Dr. Chen smiled. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They had found their place among the stars, not by changing who they were, but by embracing the very qualities that made them human. The age of isolation was over. The age of exploration, of cosmic cooperation, of infinite possibilities, had just begun. And somewhere out there, in the vast expanse of the universe, new adventures were waiting to be discovered. Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come, Samantha mused, watching a group of school children, a mix of humans and various alien species, excitedly board a shuttle for a field trip to the lunar colonies. Elia's antennae twitched in what Samantha had learned was an expression of contentment. Your species continues to surprise us all. The human approach, as it's come to be known, has revolutionized problem-solving across the galaxy. Samantha chuckled. You mean our knack for coming up with crazy, out-of-the-box solutions that somehow work? Precisely, Elia chittered. It's why the Alliance has been so successful. The combination of diverse perspectives and humanity's unique creativity has led to advancements we never thought possible. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert. A holographic display materialized before them, showing a region of space at the very edge of Alliance territory. General Maria Ruiz, now the head of the Alliance's exploration fleet, appeared on the screen. Ambassador Chen, Counselor Elia, we've made contact with a new species. Well, you need to see this for yourself. The display shifted, showing a massive cloud-like entity that pulsed with colors beyond the visible spectrum. Tendrils of energy extended from its core, manipulating the very fabric of space-time. They call themselves the Nexus, Ruiz explained. As far as we can tell, they're a collective consciousness that exists partially in our dimension and partially in, well, we're not sure. But they're interested in opening diplomatic relations. Samantha and Elia exchanged glances, excitement evident in both their expressions. This was why they had fought so hard, not just for survival, but for the chance to keep exploring, to keep pushing the boundaries of knowledge and understanding. Looks like we've got our work cut out for us, Samantha said, already mentally preparing for the challenges ahead. A whole new form of life, a new way of thinking. Can you imagine what we might learn? Elia's wings shimmered with anticipation, and what they might learn from us. This is what the Alliance was meant for, bringing together the best of all worlds to face the unknown. As they began preparations for this new first contact, Samantha couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and wonder. Humanity had come so far from those tense days when they first faced the galactic concordat. They had not only survived but thrived, their spirit of adventure and innovation helping to reshape the very nature of galactic society. The universe, it seemed, was full of tests. But with each challenge, with each new discovery, humanity proved that they were more than ready to face whatever the cosmos had in store. As Harmony Station continued its stately orbit around the blue marble of Earth, Samantha Chen looked out at the star-studded expanse before her. The future was unwritten, full of possibilities both wondrous and terrifying. But whatever came next, she knew that humanity would face it the same way they always had, with curiosity, creativity, and an unshakable determination to forge their own path among the stars. The greatest adventure, it seemed, was just beginning.